You're watching PaperLoud, stories you can feel, questions that change you. Because every truth has a voice.
Happiness, the magic word that politicians promise, self-help gurus monetize, and influencers stage in 4K. Scroll through Instagram and you'll see it everywhere. Glowing faces at sunrise yoga, champagne at rooftop parties, couples kissing in Santorini with the caption, #grateful. And then there's you, spilling coffee on your shirt while refreshing your inbox. Does that mean you're failing at happiness? That's what the feeds want you to think. Here's the spoiler. Most of what you see is performance. It's curated, filtered, polished. Real happiness, it rarely looks like that. Sometimes it doesn't look like anything at all. It hides in the background. The colleague who drops a coffee on your desk without asking for credit. The stranger on the bus who stands up when everyone else pretends not to notice you. The friend who asks, "How are you?" and actually pauses long enough to hear the answer. Tiny gestures, ordinary moments. Too boring for social media, but too important to ignore. And here's the irony. Science shows they matter more to your well-being than the milestones you've been taught to worship. So if the big wins don't deliver and the small things do, why do we miss them? Because our brains are running on a program that was never designed for Instagram. Psychologists even gave it a name, the hedonic treadmill. The harder you chase, the faster it spins, and the less progress you feel. This guide is about stepping off that treadmill. Rule by rule, study by study, we'll break down why forced happiness backfires, how giving beats taking, and what cultures that actually get it right can teach us. Because happiness isn't a finish line. It's the texture of everyday life if you know where to look. Rule 1, notice the small stuff. Psychologists call these moments micro moments of joy, small sparks of connection, comfort, or meaning. They sneak into ordinary days dressed as boring details. The smell of bread from the bakery on your way to work, the sound of rain against your window, the relief when someone says, "Don't worry, I'll handle it." Individually, they feel trivial. Collectively, they build the foundation of well-being. But here's the problem. We're experts at ignoring them. Why? Because of the hedonic treadmill. That's the trap where you run harder, achieve more, buy better things, yet never feel like you've moved. You buy new shoes. They thrill you for a week, then they're just shoes. You hit a milestone, celebrate, feel proud, and within weeks, you're already chasing the next. It's exhausting, and it's brilliant for the happiness industry. As long as you keep feeling not enough, you'll keep buying books, courses, apps. Happiness becomes a subscription model, but the real exit isn't in doing more. It's in noticing what's already here. Research from recent years is clear. People who track 3 small positive moments a day, writing them down or sharing them, report higher well-being, lower stress, even stronger immune responses. Their lives aren't objectively easier. Their attention is trained differently. Think about it. The cheap pizza that tasted better than the Michelin dinner because you shared it with the right person. The text that simply said, "thinking of you," but lifted your whole day. The laugh that reminded you who you really are. These don't shine on social media, but they light up memory, and they're the raw material of happiness. So rule 1 is simple. Stop waiting for fireworks. Start noticing the sparks. They're already there, quiet, ordinary, and more powerful than you think. Rule 2. Stop expecting happiness. If happiness hides in the small stuff, why do so many people still feel empty? Because happiness has an enemy, and its name is expectation. We live in a culture that treats happiness like homework. Employers advertise happy workplaces. Governments send out surveys ranking life satisfaction. And social media turns happiness into a scoreboard of likes and followers. If you're not glowing 24/7, you must be doing something wrong. Psychologists call this the arrival fallacy, the fantasy that once you get there, the promotion, the dream house, the perfect partner, you'll finally be happy. Spoiler, the high doesn't last. In fact, a 2024 study found that people who set rigid happiness goals ended up more stressed, more sick, and yes, less happy, because every negative emotion felt like personal failure. That's toxic positivity. The pressure to smile through it, to meditate away grief, to light a scented candle and pretend it's all fine, except it isn't. Suppressed emotions don't vanish. They come back screaming. Think about it, being told to cheer up at a funeral or to focus on the positive when you've just lost your job. It doesn't heal, it isolates. It tells you your sadness is unacceptable. Here's the irony. Without sadness, happiness wouldn't even exist. Tears at weddings, nostalgia in old songs, the bittersweet goodbye, those feelings are part of the same system. Strip out the lows, and the highs mean nothing. So rule 2 is brutal but liberating. Stop expecting happiness to be constant. Let the lows breathe. Because they're not glitches in the system, they are the system. Rule 3, give more than you take. Now, for the twist most people ignore. Happiness isn't just about what you get, it's about what you give. Psychologists call it the helper's high. And no, that's not a Hallmark slogan. It's biology. When you help others, your brain rewards you with dopamine and oxytocin, the same chemicals behind bonding and euphoria. Think of the last time you really felt connected. Maybe it was helping a colleague finish a project. Maybe it was carrying groceries for a stranger. Or maybe it was just listening, really listening to a friend who needed to unload. It doesn't have to be heroic. No one's asking you to sell everything and move to a monastery. The science says even small gestures matter. In one study, people who spent money on others reported more happiness than those who spent it on themselves, and the effect lasted for weeks. Another found that giving time had an even stronger impact. Presence beats presence. And it works both ways. Sharing sorrow halves the weight. Sharing joy doubles it. That's not poetry, it's measurable. People who experience more social support show lower cortisol levels, less loneliness, and higher resilience. Of course, it's easier to scroll past and drop a like than to call someone back. But nothing says friendship like ghosting someone for 3 days, right? Rule 3 is this: don't just collect happiness, circulate it. Give your time, your attention, your care. Because the paradox is simple. By giving it away, you end up with more. Rule 4, redefine real happiness. So far, we've seen why chasing happiness fails and why giving fuels it. But what does real, lasting happiness look like when you strip away the filters? Science points to 3 anchors, and don't worry, this isn't another checklist. It's more like a map. First, flow, that state where you're so immersed in something that time dissolves. It could be writing, gaming, cooking, even fixing a bike, anything that challenges you just enough. In flow, your brain shuts up the inner critic. Studies show people in flow report higher satisfaction than in passive downtime. Translation, you won't find it binging Netflix. Flow feels better than autopilot. Second, Emodiversity. Sounds fancy, but it's simple. Happiness doesn't mean deleting sadness. It means having a wide emotional palette. A 2023 review found that people who allowed themselves to feel anger, grief, even boredom alongside joy were healthier and more resilient. Think of it like nutrition. You wouldn't live on sugar alone. Why expect joy-only diets to work? Third, connection. Humans are wired for it. From ancient tribes to modern cities, survival always depended on belonging. Loneliness, science now says, is as deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Meanwhile, people with strong ties live longer, recover faster, and report more meaning in life. Other cultures figured this out long before psychology gave it names. Finland leads global happiness rankings, not because Finns are ecstatic 24/7, but because they value trust, honesty, and nature. Costa Rica thrives on Pura Vida, a philosophy of simple joys and strong community. In Japan, wabi-sabi celebrates imperfection as beauty. None of this is about chasing constant highs. It's about balance, perspective, and letting life breathe. And here's the punchline. The very emotions we run from, the lows, the cracks, the quiet moments, are the ones that make happiness real. So maybe happiness isn't a finish line. Maybe it's not a trophy or a checklist or a filter. Maybe it's a practice. The coffee you almost ignored, the laugh that made you forget the time, the kindness you gave away and got back doubled. That's the real story, and it's happening every day, if you notice it. So here's the question. Where did you find happiness today? Not the Instagram version, the real one. Write it in the comments. Let's make the invisible moments visible. And if you want more truths your feed won't tell you, subscribe to PaperLoud, because next time we'll uncover another piece of the puzzle, one that might just change how you see your own life. But here's the kicker. Research shows people who deliberately notice and record small positive moments, literally jotting them down in a log, report higher well-being than those chasing big milestones. Why? Because happiness isn't about stacking achievements. It's about paying attention. Think about it. Cheap pizza with a friend can taste better than the fancy restaurant. A random text, "Hey, thought of you," can hit harder than 1,000 likes. These aren't glamorous stories. They won't trend, but they're the raw material of real well-being. So rule 1 is simple. Stop waiting for the next big thing. Start noticing the tiny ones. At PaperLoud, we believe happiness isn't a product, a trend, or a scoreboard. It's a fragile, everyday practice. Messy, imperfect, but real. If this video made you pause, smile, or even argue with yourself, that's exactly the point. Because happiness isn't found in answers, it's found in questions worth asking. So don't just leave with good vibes. Leave with a sharper eye for the invisible moments, the ones no algorithm can sell you. Happiness was never meant to be a trophy or a scoreboard. It was never about chasing smiles, stacking likes, or checking boxes. What we've seen today is simple but uncomfortable. The more you force happiness, the more fragile it becomes. Real joy isn't loud, flawless, or permanent. It's imperfect, fleeting, and human. Maybe it's in the coffee you almost ignored. Maybe it's in the questions someone asked and actually waited to hear the answer. Maybe it's in the moment you chose honesty over performance. That's the happiness worth keeping. Not the glossy kind sold to us, but the kind that breathes. So, now it's your turn. What does imperfect happiness look like in your life? Share it in the comments, and let's build a space where doubt, laughter, and even sadness all have room. And if you want to keep unmasking the illusions that run our feeds and shape our lives, subscribe to PaperLoud. Stay awake to the moments that don't trend. Stay loud against the pressure to fake it. Stay human with all your flaws. Stay PaperLoud.